Welcome back. For the first time ever, U.S. TV cameras are getting an inside look at how the U.S. military is helping Somali Special Forces fight the terrorist organization known as Al-Shabaab. Our NBC News team embedded with U.S. Special Ops for an exclusive look at how U.S. forces, including Navy SEALs and Army Green Berets, are training Somali troops. Al-Shabaab, the terror group, now has as many as 10,000 fighters in Somalia. It is both the strongest and wealthiest terrorist group in the region. My colleague Courtney Kube was able to get access to some of the live fire training exercises. She also spoke to some of the U.S. commanders leading the operations, as well as a Somali soldier who's receiving the training.
We are witnessing the graduation from one of the Danab intake basic training classes. The significance of this class right now is that we are currently supporting the Somali-led efforts in their war. Now, the significance of the graduation right now is that these soldiers are going to be going directly into their battalions and their formations, going right to the fight to bring it to. These soldiers are going to be going right into their battalions and tactical formations to bring the fight to the enemy.
Courtney now joins me live from Somalia, a phrase that I don't think either she or I ever thought we'd hear or say. So, Courtney, you're embedded with U.S. troops there, but it sounded like they're just trainers. Are they?
So, not just training, they're also advising. So after these Somali Special Forces go through the training period, which is about 3 months, then they graduate. We saw that today, one of the graduations, about 350 of them graduated, became what the Somali military calls Danab soldiers. That's the Special Forces unit. And as we heard from General Bailey there, they're going to move right into the fight, some of them literally in a matter of days, against Al-Shabaab. That's when the U.S. military changes into a different role, and that's advising. So as these Somali soldiers, the Danab, are planning a mission, they come to the U.S., the U.S. helps them plan them, helps them, figure out exactly what they're going to do. And then as the Somalis go forward to the front lines, the U.S. military in some cases will move outside the wire to help advise them. They don't go all the way to the front lines, but they help them. They provide ISR or drone feeds from overhead as they're carrying out these fights. And you mentioned Al-Shabaab. It's the best financed terror network and the largest terror network here in this region, but it's also the best equipped. They have pretty good equipment, weapons, vehicles, and there are roughly 10,000 of them here in this country. The U.S. is helping the Somali military grow up the Danab, the Somali army, and the Special Forces unit to take the fight to this Al-Shabaab before they are able to get this terror network even further than this region.
Courtney, 10 years ago, Mogadishu was seen as a place that wasn't even governable, let alone Somalia. How would it be described today?
So there's a new government in town right now. He's been in office now for a little under a year. It's Hassan Sheikh Mohammed, the president. And he has vowed that he's going to fight Al-Shabaab. In fact, he's saying things like he's going to eliminate Al-Shabaab by the end of this year and even bring them to some sort of a diplomatic table. He's putting his money where his mouth is in a lot of cases by growing up the military and beginning this. He started a huge offensive in Hiran, which isn't too far from here, in August, and it's been relatively successful. They were able to clear Al-Shabaab out. They're working on a stabilization piece or some sort of a hold force to be able to maintain the area being cleared. But this all comes in the backdrop of what has been the worst drought in recorded history here in Somalia, and it's only expected to get worse. They've had 5 failed rainy seasons. The next one is expected to be a failure as well. Roughly 2 out of every 5 Somalis is starving right now, and if the drought continues or worsens, that's only going to get worse. So as we have food insecurity in a country, as you know, Chuck, that means more insecurity overall. So that's one of the reasons that the president, Hassan Sheikh, is trying to build up the military so that they're able to bring stability all over, both in a food security place and also for a larger national security.
We talk about how little, in some ways, foreign policy was a part of the State of the Union, how little our country seems to want to get involved overseas. Witnessing what you're witnessing and what you're reporting on the ground, if the average American came up to you, Courtney, and said, why are we there? What would you say?
So there's only been about 450 troops here since last May. Remember, President Biden announced he was sending them back in. And it really is to try to help the Somalis build up so that they can fight back against al-Shabaab. Al-Shabaab holds wide swaths of area throughout this country, and the more that they're able to take over and govern, in some ways they govern, it's a very brutal manner in which they do it, but they're able to do it in some places. The Somali government will be weaker and weaker, the federal government, unless they're able to take out al-Shabaab and start to reclaim their land here. And back to the drought and literally a country that is teetering on the brink of famine right now, that has bigger implications for the region, right? Yeah. Then we're going to talk about mass amounts of population moving, the need for more security assistance. I spoke with the ambassador here yesterday. The one thing he said is the world needs to be paying attention to the problem here, and they need to send help and money so that there's not a famine.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.